Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Connor Williams, joined by Alex, and we are doing the extra time for the Everton West Ham game. 1-0 win to Everton. Alex, tell me your feelings on the game, first of all.
Yeah, obviously first win on the board is always good in the league, of course. I think I think you'd argue it's probably a bit overdue. I think performances have been quite good like the last few games, and it finally all kind of came together. And I thought we were the better side for most points. Obviously, we weren't dominating, weren't creating too much, but I think the game plan kind of came off how we wanted, really. Kind of almost nick a goal. And then defend it, and yeah, came off really well. So pleased.
Yeah, I must admit, the first half when I was watching it, the first half, I think it's fair to say, wasn't one for the entertainers of the world, was it? The first half. It took a while for this game to break. The commentators were saying it, and I think we could all tell watching it. But it was definitely one of those games that needed a goal to open it up a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think because we all know what Moyes does, especially with away games. The sitting back and kind of letting us attack them, and then trying to catch us on the break or whatever. So we were, I think we were having a lot more of it going forward, but we just didn't really seem to quite know how to break them down. We were sending in a lot of crosses, which they were always going to deal with because Morpay is not the greatest aerial threat, and obviously their defense is very good in the air. So yeah, it was kind of like I say, we kind of needed to just nick a goal out of somewhere like we did. A half chance kind of out of nowhere with the Morpay strike, and like you say, that came quite reasonably late in the game, in the second half, and like you say, after that it opened up a bit more, and West Ham actually started to threaten a bit more.
Yeah, we'll speak about the Muay goal now. Um, what a finish! Really, I mean, I don't know how else to describe it other than what a finish. Takes it really nicely with his first touch. Because it's one of those where it's fired in at him, it could bobble past him, and then on the volley, enough power to beat the keeper. I think the XG for it was like 0.05, so it was a really, really good finish, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was really great to see because he'd done an interview in the week saying how disappointed he was having missed that golden opportunity in the derby 2 weeks before, and how much he just wanted to get on to the next one and just get that first goal under the belt. So it was really pleasing to see. And like I say, it was a really well worked goal in the end. The Wobie does very well. It's great movement, great pass to pick up more pen. Like you say, first touch is fantastic, and before any of the defenders can react, he's fired it home. So yeah, and you could tell he was delighted to get on the score sheet. So yeah, really pleasing to see.
Yeah, like you say, you could tell what it meant to him. Really celebrated it in front of a home crowd as well. Must feel really great. You mentioned Iwobi and his assist. It was a good assist. We'll get on to Iwobi a little bit later because I have a feeling he might be one of the candidates when I ask you later for the man of the match, if not the. So we'll get on him and a little bit of his career revival and just this game as well, because once again, playing out of his skin. Like I said, once the goal came in, it opened up a bit more both ways. We had a couple more chances going. And West Ham, like you said, had a couple of decent chances. I think one that sticks is towards the end. I think it might be in the corner. The goal was open for him. I had my hand in my head in my hand because I thought nailed on goal. This so close to the goal, and he just absolutely ballooned it. Thank God. But yeah, like you said, West Ham did start to break a little bit more towards the end. Do you think when Cornet was broke through, then did you think the same thing? Sort of, this has got to be a goal.
Yeah, there were several opportunities like that. I remember Ben Rama clipping the inside of the post as well. I was sat in the park end, so I was right behind that one. And the whole way there, I was convinced that was in. I thought he'd got it perfect. You could see what he was going to do ages before he got the shot off. And Begovic just stood there and watched it, just like, oh my God, please no. And it just about stays out. And then, like you say as well, that vital interception from Patterson as well when Cornet got through and stuff like that. So yeah, there were good opportunities towards the end, and you could argue, maybe riding our luck a little bit, but I thought most of the time we looked very secure defensively, and I think a lot of credit has to go to Tarkowski and Cody making us a lot more composed at the back, and Mikalenko and Patterson both as well, like really, really performing well. So yeah, we defended well, but yeah, on another day, like we got quite fortunate that in other times gone past, West Ham would have nicked a goal there. So yeah, got to be pleased with that one.
Yeah, you mentioned the defence and Connor Cody, the whole back four played really well. There was one point where I think Tarkowski had been caught out of position. The ball was going to be a through ball, and Cody just positions himself. Doesn't have to do anything. Not just positions himself well enough that he just reads the pass. Nothing fancy. Doesn't have to stretch. Doesn't even have to break a sweat. Just because he knows where he should be, which is great to see a centre back. It's been a while since we've seen a centre back with that capable of a defensive awareness, especially captain as well for this game, which I was shocked at, but not that shocked at. The only reason I was shocked is because he was a loanee. I thought he was going to go with Tarkowski because Cody's a loanee. But then when you think captain at Wolves, a lot of Wolves fans talked about how he was a great captain there. Not really a shock. Were you a bit surprised to see Cody get the armband?
Not really. To be fair, I think if you'd asked me who I wanted to be captain in the lead up, I probably would have said him. And the post he did after the game, just saying how happy he was to get 3 points, and all the players responding. You can see he's a key character in the dressing room, despite the fact, like you say, he is a lonely. He's clearly got a lot of influence, and what you were saying there before about him being in the right position when his partner's been caught out and stuff like that level of experience, and that just nous and stuff like that from being in the Premier League for so long, is just absolutely vital for us. And yeah, you can tell he's definitely a leader. So yeah, I think shooing for captain really. Like you say, he's done it at Wolves before. So yeah, I think it was the right decision.
Obviously, it's not just the eyes that are saying that our defence is a lot better. I think we are the third best defensive record in the league so far. I think it's Brighton, Manchester City, then us. We're conceding 0.86 goals a game. And I think we can tell from watching that we've only conceded 6. And more importantly, only conceded 2 at home. How much of a day and night difference is this compared to last season? Especially, I know we had a good start under Benitez, but we were conceding more even then. And obviously, we know where that ended up going. I don't think we're quite a year on from when he starts to completely derail. But when you think majority of last season, even Frank Lampard taking over last season towards, there were bits then where we concede. How much of a day and night is it to have this defensive core and the midfield in front of them as well?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I think one of the stats that really stands out for me is out of I want to say something like 48 corners faced, we've only considered 1 so far this season. Like historically, we've always been terrible at defending corners. It's something that I think Martinez admitted that they never worked on in training and stuff like that, and it's never been worked on since. And yet now it's been clear that I know Paul Clement was working with the players before. Now it's Ashley Cole. But we are just so much better at that now, and that is such a boost. That probably accounts for just how fewer goals we've conceded compared to points last season and stuff like that. And yeah, like you say as well, the midfield as well, completely revitalised. Having just a Gay screening who looks like he's never been away, other than the fact he is possibly even more composed on the ball than he was before, which I think you can account for his time at PSG playing with better players for that one. Yeah, he looks a really astute signing, and of course Onana in front of him as well. He's just and a Awobi with all his energy and that. We look so much more solid defensively, and like you say, we just have a lot more faith in being able to keep teams out. Like I said before, I think last season we don't keep a clean sheet in that game, no chance. So yeah, like you say, completely day and night.
Yeah, it really is. It's something else. And like you said, set pieces is a massive one. I think, like you said, we had that really tough period, and then Marco Silva as well. I remember every set piece leaded to a goal. I remember the Millwall game in particular. That was our undoing. Then Angelotti managed to keep it calm with his son. But then as soon as they went, it looked like we'd reverted back to the Everton of old. Like you said, Clement's been working on it. You can see that. I think it helps that we've got bigger lads. I'd say Tarkowski's bigger than Keane. I don't know if he's as big as Mina, but Mina's really unreliable in terms of fitness. And now we've got the likes of Onana, who I think we could tell the game plan was every time we had a set piece, aim for Onana, which I think West Ham in there to give credit to them, and Carrera dealt with it really well. The only negative I will say is I have a feeling we need a set piece specialist or somebody who can do a little bit better. You are on about crosses, but the corners and deep free kicks again weren't impressive. I think it was Damari Gray that was taking the majority of them. Just give us your thoughts on that and Damari Gray's set pieces.
Well, like you say, I mean, that logic assumes that if we're really good at defending corners, we should have players that are able to put them away. And yeah, as you say, that demands a good set piece taker. I think I've heard that James Garner was apparently on corners and free kicks at Forest, which could be a shout if he's able to get into this side. But it begs the question: who does he replace in that midfield? Because they're performing so well. That was actually only their first game starting together, and yeah, it looked so settled and looked like they've been playing together for ages. I actually thought the quality of crosses was actually quite good on Wednesday. Maybe not so much corner-wise, but there were a lot of good crosses getting sent in, which just made it all the more frustrating that there was no one to really get on the end of them. And you've got McNeil who can come off the bench. He's also a very good crosser. And you mentioned Gray. I think historically his deliveries haven't been that great, but I actually thought there were some really good balls he delivered on Sunday. And you'd like to hope that once Calvert-Lewin gets back into that side, we can continue in that vein, and hopefully it can be a source of goals. But yeah, scoring from set pieces isn't quite really an option at the moment. You mentioned Onana getting on the end of them. Obviously, he's really got the aerial advantage on a lot of players, but it's not quite there actually. Once he's got to the ball, getting it towards the goal, I think he struggled a bit with that. I don't think that's really in his game. So yeah, it's definitely something to be looked at. But yeah, like you say, you need the players for it, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's a fair shout. McNeil as well is another one that can cross. Well, he's sort of renowned for like having a good left foot on him, a good cross. Player though that unfortunately seems to be struggling to find his feet at the minute. He did come on for about a 15-minute cameo. Personally, thought he looked like he struggled again. I mean, I will give him the benefit of the doubt. It looked like he was playing right wing. I was an inverted winger, and I feel like that's asking a little bit too much of him right now. But give me your thoughts on Dwight McNeil so far in his Everton career. I've seen a couple of fans say that he sort of hasn't kicked off in the way that a few were hoping for.
Yeah, it's not been the best of starts. I think if I had to give credit to him, I think his defensive work rate's very good. I think he was brought on because obviously there'd been that incident before with Gordon and Patterson arguing with each other about who needs to do what. Gordon's still maybe not quite there defensively, but I think McNeil's a lot better than that, playing in a Dyche system which demanded a lot of defensive solidity. He's used to that, and remember particularly against Brentford, he was very good tracking back, and Leeds as well. So I think that was why he was brought on. But obviously, in a winger, in the formation we played, I think a lot more needs to be demanded of him attacking wise. He's not quite got that explosive pace that Gray and Gordon perhaps have, and yeah, it's not really worked out for him so far. But I'm willing to remain patient with him, as we say. We'll get onto Iwobi in a bit, but Iwobi proves that players can turn their fortunes around in the blink of an eye if they're just if you remain patient with them. So there's no point writing him off now, but like you say, hasn't really had to start a lot of us would have hoped, that's for sure.
Yeah, we will on Iwobi very, very soon. You mentioned Calvert-Lewin before as well, and sort of the crosses and when he comes in. Obviously, there were rumours that he might be back for this game. And then Frank Lampard said, I didn't want to risk him for it. We've got the international break now, which gives him a little bit longer, which is music, I think, to a lot of our fans' ears. A lot of fans are worried that he might get injured again. A couple of fans I've seen write him off already before he's even kicked the ball this season. The only thing I worry is there's no guarantee he slips straight back in, is there, when Moipai's scoring? If he hadn't scored again, you could argue maybe, but you can't sort of drop him now, can you, after scoring one in two games?
No, I guess not. I'd imagine I can't see him starting in our next game against Southampton, like you say, after the international break. I think there's probably a good chance he'll be on the bench, brought on towards the end of the game. But like you say, it's nice having a. I think Morpay's probably already proved just in two matches he's a much more capable backup than your Rondons or your Tossons before. Obviously, he's not still there, but last season, um, he'd be a much better option off the bench if we needed it. Um, and he's already proved he can start games and still be influential. Obviously, we have to change our playing style a bit based on who we have up front. But yeah, more. I think yeah, like you say, you can't really drop more pay after that. And it being he's Lampard's now got that ability to not have to rush Calvert-Lewin back in. We're not in a position where we desperately need someone to score the goals, and but hopefully being able to like push him in slowly and not rush him, keeps him fit and also gives him time to find his feet a bit more, like you say, and be more effective.
Yeah, it's nice we've got depth, isn't it? And speaking of depth, the midfield as well is another place that from last year where we had not a lot of depth. It was Allen and Decore, and then after that was the likes of Tom Davis and Andre Gomez. To three solid midfielders now in Way, Onana, and Iwobi. And then afterwards, you've got Tom Davis, who I don't think for the games he's played so far this season has put a foot wrong necessarily. Then you've got Decore, who came on, so he's back from injury now. And like you mentioned before, Garner from United, who was at Nottingham Forest last season. So it's nice to have a wide bit of depth. And the midfield, I've never seen the midfield look this packed, honestly.
Yeah, like you say, a midfield's been a source of worry for years now, and it's never really truly been resolved. And now, barring any long term injuries, which would just be the typical Everton luck, but uh, I think it's a system that would suit players a lot more as well. Now this three in midfield rather than the two we've seemed to have for a long time now, and which a lot of fans haven't really seen the benefit of too much. I think Davis would play a lot better in a three, with the protection of a Gay or an Anana with him, as well as Iwobi being more of that attacking source. To Corey, I think is a similar story. If he's got someone to sit back, he's able to get forward a bit more, which I think makes him a bit more effective rather than being that guy who kind of sits a bit more, which he had to do a lot last season when playing with the likes of Gomez, like you say. And James Garner we haven't even seen yet, and yet all reports seem to say he can fill pretty much any midfield role and has done at Forest, the sitting, the box to box, or even the more attack minded players. So like you say, so many options at our disposal. That's not even mentioning Allen, who I'm not entirely sure how much Lampard sees the benefit of, and with other transfer windows open, could possibly still leave in the next few weeks. So that's one to keep an eye on. But yeah, like you say, the midfield I'm so much more encouraged by, and based on the performances we've seen in the last few games, looks about the best midfield we've had for I don't even know, like going back ages. So yeah, really good to see.
Yeah, it is. It is great to see, and I will ask you now because I'm curious to see who it is. Who would you say was your man of the match for this game?
Well, obviously the main one is Iwobi, but I've found myself thinking after pretty much every game this season. I don't want to say Iwobi again because I say Iwobi every week. It's pretty much always Iwobi. You pretty much pick your second choice. And if I had to pick a second choice, I'd probably say Mikalenko. And I haven't seen a lot of people saying it, but I thought Mikalenko was superb. I think the fact that you look at that West Ham side and you say probably one of their most dangerous players is Jarrod Bowen, and he hardly had a sniff. And I thought some of Mikalenko's tackling was superb. And I saw some tweet about his stats and like his defensive stats. And yes, I saw it in the game, and I thought he had a really good match. But yeah, if you had to take any sort of bias out of it, it would be Iwobi. But it's Iwobi every week at the moment. It's crazy just how much he's turned things around.
Yeah, it's truly mad, isn't it? I mean, Don't get me wrong. I do like Mikalenko. I think attacking wise, sometimes he struggles. Defensive, as a fullback, when we play him as a wing back in the 3/5, I think he then sort of struggles to get forward. But in this, four at the back, he's he's just a solid 7 out of 10 player. Which the other day on the channel, that's is by no means a knock either. That's a very high compliment. 7.5 out of 10 player. Week in, week out, that sort of consistency is absolutely brilliant. But like you said, it probably is Alex Iwobi. Who once again, he's having a lot of good games, but I think yesterday for me was one of his better good games. And I think there was a stat going around saying that he had 11 progressive passes yesterday. And to put that into context, the average squad in the average Everton squad, the progressive passes per 90 this season was 2.35 and 2.33. Last season, we absolutely tripled the average in one game. He's just phenomenal, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And like you say, it was probably his best performance so far this season, which is saying a lot because, like you say, he's been pretty much faultless all year. And I think that says a lot about how West Ham set up and the fact they kind of sat back a lot and allowed us to attack and allowed the Iwobi to just try and slip those passes through. And like I say, the confidence in him, he wouldn't have been making those passes this time last year, which just says it all about how much he's come on and how much he's thriving in the position that he always told us was his best position. And now we're finally seeing him prove it right. So yeah, it's he's absolutely essential to what we do now, and like he gives us so much. And like you say, West Ham, the West Ham performance was probably his best one of the lot so far this season.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's nice to see him do so well. It's nice to see us do well. Like you mentioned, we needed a win. We'd had good performances, and I couldn't believe it. But Jamie Carragher was on commentary and even said this, which was, 'cause he's very hit and miss on how he wants to compliment Everton at times. But they were on about, still looking for a win. Either team could fall into the bottom with a loss. And he said, and he's right in saying it, that we've performed really well this season. We've had a number of performances that we've done well. The Chelsea game at the start of the season, I thought we were unlucky because we played well. It just took, a mistake to cost us. The derby, thought we were unlucky not to get a win out of that. So the performances have been there. It's nice to finally see a win out of this. And it makes me sort of happy to watch Everton again compared to last season. We're grittier. We're more of a battling side. I think the chance creation, if I was going to be a perfectionist, could be a little bit better at times. But overall, this is a really good Everton to watch at the minute. It's just amazing, isn't it, compared to the mood last season?
Yeah, the feel good factor's really been restored, which, like you say, based on the fact that was our first win in the league on Sunday, is extraordinary. And yeah, you could see by the scenes at the end, and Lampard going up to the Grada Street, and all the videos going around of the lads dancing in the changing room and stuff like that. It was it's a really likable team. I think is the way I'd say it. It's up there with one of the most likable Everton teams that I can remember us having, and I think that's you've got to give a lot of credit to the recruitment in that. I think we've signed the right type of characters. I think, and we mentioned Tarkowski and Cody earlier, that experience and also bringing through like younger players and stuff. And Patterson being given a run in the team, he's becoming a real fan favourite now. Looks like we finally got that Coleman replacement we've been after for so long, and yeah, it's early days, and I think we've got to remain patient. There's going to be crap performances this season because the team's not completely there. But Sunday suggests to me that I don't feel anywhere near as worried about us going down as I did last season, which is definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I don't think we are, and from what I've seen, I think there's enough of us that we shouldn't be there. I said my predictions we finished 13th, which again, well, if we finish higher, brilliant. like 13th isn't bad considering where the state we were in last season. Unfortunately, we hear this every year, and it's no different this year. But it is a process, and you've got to sort of process. Rome wasn't built in a day. Unfortunately, we say this every season because Everton keeps swapping managers every season. So every time they do that, Rome takes slightly longer to be built. But it wasn't built in a day. But you can see the foundations now, and we've got a really good foundation in this squad, and they're aggressive and they're in for it, which is great to see. Obviously, it's the international break now, a bit of a breather from Everton. And this is my last question before we finish. A bit of a fun one because I've seen a couple of people say this. Normally, international breaks for Everton fans, I think it's fair to say, can't come soon enough. We're all like, thank God, a week without Everton. Are you one of the people that now this is happening, you're sort of like, damn, I'd actually really like to see us play our next game sort of thing, with the feel-good factor being back, like you said? Is it one of these international breaks where you think, I could really do with just swerving this and having Everton again next week?
If we hadn't had the break last week, I'd probably say no, and I'd probably say yeah, we'll take the break, get players fit again. But last week was torture, and I don't really want to go through that again. I'll be honest. And against with the next game being Southampton, which no disrespect to them, is a much more of a winnable prospect than Arsenal away. Yeah, like you say, this feel good factor's here, and I'm all for it. And yeah, I just want to keep watching Everton play. So yeah, I'd probably have to say yeah, get the international break scrapped.
I'm the same, man. Like you said, Southampton. I watched them against Villa the other night, and that was a tough game to watch.
Yeah, it was.
That was, I think they got the wrong game, Sky, when they were putting that one on. That was a really tough one. Southampton look out of ideas, and I think don't want to say they're there for the picking because they're famous last words, but like you said, that is a more winnable game than West Ham. That is everything we've got time for, though. Just like to say thank you for coming on and speaking to me, Alex. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Thank you for having me. Cheers.
No worries. Don't forget, guys, to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and comment down below your thoughts on the West Ham game and give us your man of the matches below. Look forward to reading it, and I'll see you guys very soon.